When I made my video about the controversy surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows, there were different opinions as to how the character was being depicted, Japanese culture, bad actors, people who are anti woke, people who are woke, all chiming in. There was even the conversation of people who are black and how they actually perceive the character. And I remember I also got some pushback where some people were saying that, this whole thing was about bad actors. I've always maintained the position that whenever I'm dealing with these companies, I look at their financial motivations very much so first before I ever even continue going. Like it's a preconceived bias that I go in with simply because the pure definition of a business is an organization that is actually geared, designed, structured, and set up to be able to earn a profit. If you go in with that notion, for the most part, you are safe in terms of making your hypotheses or putting forth theories. Tom Henderson came out with a post, an exclusive, that he says context around the Assassin's Creed Shadow's delay. Also, another YouTuber called Legendary Drops, I saw their video, and they claimed that some developers within the studios actually got in touch with them and they interviewed those developers to ask them a few questions regarding some of the challenges being faced in Ubisoft right now. Then also, another YouTuber also came out with claims that some developers had reached out to him after vetting and also had claims about some of the issues and the challenges facing the Ubisoft ecosystem as a whole, and especially Assassin's Creed Shadows. So from Tom Henderson, Legendary Drops, and Endymion TV, we have all kinds of interesting accounts that we can kind of collate together, and you'll be able to form what I think is a balanced picture as to what you probably suspected was going on in the company. And you're eventually going to see that this company, regardless of the, whatever is going on, when you reduce it down to its most basic, scenario, this company is in a lot of trouble. They're facing a world of hurt. Now, as to all of those details, I don't really think it's, in a sense, pertinent for me to sit here and run and plow through, hundreds and hundreds of, possibilities, or even, let me say, about a dozen or so talking points. However, I've always maintained this, and I'm going to highlight that in this video, that with everything you're hearing, it still is coming down to financial motivations. Some of the things that I've heard so far from some of these reports, one of them is that the Yasuke character was actually supposed to be a Japanese male samurai. But instead, sometime around 2020, when there was a huge push from the social justice movement regarding specific social political issues, Ubisoft thought it would benefit from putting a black character in the Assassin's Creed game. Because according to all of these reports, both the, I guess what you would consider the gaming press and the YouTube ecosystem, they have basically seen that there were some animations and character models, or a animation set and a character model that was representative of a Japanese male character. I said in my video, I said, guys, this thing is all about financial expedience for Ubisoft. They probably perceived that there was a trend where everybody was going a certain direction in their representation that they thought they could capitalize on for profits. As a black guy, I'm not going to sit here and think that Ubisoft, out of the goodness of their heart, just wanted to do representation and then it's some bad actors on the internet. You see, those so-called, in quote, bad actors on the internet, apparently they're the people who buy games, and they're the people who have forced this company into a weird position that it is. So are they bad actors, or are they people who are actually wanting to see something in their video games? I guess time is going to tell, because now, apparently from the reports that we've heard, there are some developers, and this is from Tom Henderson's report, about 7 developers that he said he talked to, that were seeking a delay of the game to fix bugs and so on and so forth. In the case of, say, the other developers who spoke to the YouTubers, some of them were talking about how, at the end of the day, what was going on was, it seems like the studio had prioritized other things, or I guess their studios working on the game had prioritized other things rather than actually making a solid game that people and individuals wanted to play. This is all really strange, and it's all really weird. It depends on the narrative that you go with, and because I'm sure people will believe whom they choose to believe or whom they want to believe in any given context. That doesn't bother me. I'm not really worried nor am I concerned about any of that. My deal is, because the Video Game Fight School channel is very, very much geared from the gaming industry from a financial and economic and fiscal perspective, take it as Ubisoft is going to try to find a way to financially benefit itself throughout all of what's going on. There's not going to be a way that they want to eat 100% loss on top of all of this at the end of the day. They have made so many missteps. In fact, from all these reports, there's a video I'm going to actually, in a sense, structure and curtail for my other YouTube channel where I play and cover the Division almost exclusively. And in that channel, we're going to talk about the potential that the pitch for the so-called Outlaws game was a Division game in the Star Wars, a Division style game in the Star Wars universe. And what's weird is I have to go dig through thousands of videos where I actually said, imagine if the Star Wars game actually carried a Division style perspective. Because around the time we got the review, that's when the Battlefront 2, Battlefront 2, yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2 debacle was going on with the loot boxes, and the 4,000 hours that you had to play to get like Darth Vader at it and buy the loot boxes was going on. And I knew at that time, we already all knew that, Ubisoft had actually been pitching a Star Wars game, or I said Star Wars game, actually, an Avatar game, sorry, at the time. But then I said, man, I wish that they could actually make a Star Wars game. Sorry, I mixed that up. I mixed all that up. I was wishing they could make a Star Wars game that represented some of the Division elements. I remember then and talking about it in YouTube videos. I don't know if I'll be able to find that video, but it's very interesting that they actually did propose something like that. And they still, screwed the pooch and followed with another, paradigm at the end of the day. Because again, Ubisoft Massive, their, bread and butter is two really good live service games with significant amounts of, content that can actually introduce you into an ecosystem at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. This is pretty much how things go at the end of, when you actually narrow all that down. But back to the Assassin's Creed thing, I think it's very interesting to watch this actually play out. Because again, there's also the rumor, which is also kind of false as well, I think, at the end of the day, that they're going to change Yasuke. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, from a game development perspective, it makes no sense to actually go ahead and take that kind of a step. You've already hired a voice actor. You've already postured that you're trying to do something cool and all of the above. But then there's also the conversation about the cultural appropriation that's going on, because the one thing that Ubisoft kind of, got really spooked by in this whole scenario is that they didn't even necessarily represent the Japanese, community and the Japanese culture properly. In fact, with a lot of the things that happened and the way they represented some structures and some, historical aspects, it's obvious to me that they're trying to find a way, to go ahead and make amends in real time. And I think this is something that, to be very honest, when you actually go in and you narrow it all down, it lends, it lends a little bit of that. Okay, they're probably delaying the game to actually change the depiction. This is something that has been seen. Some people have said, just Yasuke going around kicking people and just basically killing Japanese folk is just so jarring that they may not necessarily be in a position to be able to get away from, all of the cultural backlash that this is going to actually have to deal with. And some of us said this before. I said this in my other video. I said, can you imagine if, somebody made an Assassin's Creed game in Africa and they decided that the driving force will be a Zhongshu, a Chinese native? What would that look like to Africans when a Chinese native comes in and literally takes like a freaking dancing spear, which is, a signature weapon from, from Chinese culture, or maybe it takes like a, some kind of a blade that's actually, in a sense, native to African, combat culture, and then starts to basically slash and destroy Africans that, that are native to the area. How is that going to actually look at the end of the day? So you really have to kind of appropriate it in a way that, okay, if you're going to come out as a company that says that, you actually are progressive on the front, you got to be thinking differently about things. So I think all of this together has just been a confusing mess. At the end of the day, I think they could have just stayed authentic to what they wanted to do, stayed in a way where they could compete with Ghost of Tsushima, and in a sense, they would have won. There's just no doubt about that they could have been able to have a winning formula. But it seems like Ubisoft is in a very strange place. It seems like at the end of the day, they're not really too concerned, about developing. They're not really too concerned about developing games that majority of their audiences want until they've lost a lot of money. So what's going to happen is, based on these reports, nonetheless, people have already made up their minds. If you actually come and read the comments under Tom Henderson's post over here, people have still made up their minds. People that are going to buy, they're going to buy. People that are not going to buy, they're not going to buy it, because already they've, concluded that this is how this is going to be. And gaming being polarized right now, people are going to send a very strong message. I'm the nice guy. In this whole conversation, like, I'm the nice guy that likes developers, that wants to see developers thrive and all of the above, but I cannot speak for everybody, and I cannot, in a sense, start telling you what anybody should do with their money. So I'm just pointing out, hey, man, at the end of the day, the money is basically calling the shots, and Ubisoft knows what to do to try to reach into the pockets of people who are looking at them saying, nah, man, you're going to give us a product that we would enjoy, rather than try to basically follow the agenda of people who have, who they claim have come out and actually been antagonistic to them from an ideological perspective. So this is big. They dialed into, they bet on the wrong horse at the end of the day, is what happened to them. And not just in one, not two, but about 3 or even 4 fronts with other games that have actually not been doing very well. This is all a very interesting, scenario at the end of the day. But I digress. I'm just looking at how they're going to, basically, how they're going to simmer this stuff down, how they're going to recover from this, and how they're going to basically approach their game development style from now henceforth. And I'm listening to all opinions. I'm listening to what everybody is saying, what everybody is writing about. I'm looking at it, and at the end of the day, guys, I can sift this thing down to the green at the end of the day. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.